Hey, welcome to DVR Club. I'm Senior Editor Sean O'Neill. With me is...
Editor-in-Chief Josh Modell.
I just realized that they hired the two most low-key guys in this office to do this video.
Yeah, we got to try to pump it up a little bit.
All right, we'll muddle through somehow. Yeah. Actually kind of works, though, because this is about Justified. It's a show that's very laconic, a lot of laconic characters and low-key characters.
True. We're kind of Justified-like villains.
Totally.
Yeah.
So today we're talking about the very last ever episode of Justified, the series finale called The Promise. Should we just jump right into the top storylines? We got a lot to cover.
Let's do it.
I like the idea that The Promise, it really brought the series kind of full circle. I mean, if you really think about it, the very first episode of the series, Raylan goes back to Kentucky with the promise that he's going to take down Boyd Crowder. He kind of makes that promise to Art that he's going to bring it down. He makes that promise to Boyd himself that if he ever pulls on him, he's going to put him down. And then he sort of makes that promise to Ava that she's safe now. And in a way, the finale sort of brought all those storylines where they needed to be.
And in a really nice way, I thought, that everybody kind of, in a funny way, has kind of a happy ending, which I didn't know if it was going there. I didn't know, which was one of the things I really liked about the final episode. I thought there was certainly a chance that Raylan might shoot Boyd when Boyd was basically begging him to. I assumed, or I think a lot of people thought, like, well, which one of them is going to die? I think that was kind of all the scuttlebutt, and I'm happy that neither of them did in a way.
Right. Well, I don't think you can kill Boyd. If that happens, then Raylan has basically learned nothing over the course of the series. I mean, I've always kind of thought of Justified as like this sort of, like therapy for Raylan. Like he's sort of called back to Kentucky to deal with his past. He's got, Boyd is like his shadow self running around, and Harlan, and he's, got Arlo to deal with, and like there's memories he needs to purge before he can grow as a person. And I think the end of the series kind of showed that he did do that. He starts the show as this sort of angry guy in Florida who's just like, taunting this Tommy Bucks guy to pull on him so he can kill him and put him down. And, by the end of the show, he's grown a little bit. Like he doesn't need that,
So what's it gonna be, Raylan?
And he earns it, I think, throughout the series, and especially in this last season. Like, it's believable, I think, that Raylan has gone from, as Winona says, as you pointed out before we started rolling, the sort of mirror lines. Winona, I think in the pilot, right, says he's the angriest man she's ever known, and by the finale, he's just the most stubborn man she's ever known. Should we move on to our inanimate object of the week?
Yes, and I would say it's the inanimate object of the series, which is, I believe, Raylan's hat.
Yep. Both hats, maybe. But
both hats.
Raylan's hat, for sure, which, Elmore Leonard famously didn't like the idea of Raylan wearing a white cowboy hat and kind of being the good guy, because he's not a good guy, according to the creator of the character. So where do we end up with the hat?
Well, you do have this classic Western motif of the black hat versus the white hat. You have the young gunslinger coming into town versus the old veteran gunslinger, which is Boone versus Raylan.
Right.
I think when Boone first showed up on the scene, people didn't really think much of him, but over the course of the last few episodes, you really started to see these parallels about how Boone was maybe like Raylan when he was 20 years younger. He was sort of angry and cocky and very skilled, obviously, but sort of like this mercenary. And I think a few tweaks or maybe a few inches of the hat, that's where Raylan could have ended up.
Yeah, I agree that was sort of intended as a parallel. I think Boone is more sort of purely psychotic than Raylan ever was. And I also think, as much as I like Boone and was funny and sort of added this cartoon element and let us bring Loretta back into the picture, which I thought was good, he was also clearly sort of brought to the series so that in this final episode, Raylan could kill somebody.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that whole scene was basically like a placebo for the Boyd-Raylan showdown that everybody sort of wanted. All right, well, moving on to Potent Quotables, which is really hard to justify. This is a show with lots of quotables every single week. This isn't my pick, but I want to give one quick honorable mention to a line that I love from this episode, where they walk into that bar of the crooked cops, and he's like, you want a drink here, you gotta show us your badge or show us your tits, and he's like,
Art, show them your tits.
It's just one of those things that, people don't really necessarily get this from promos of the show and haven't watched the show, but Justified is one of the most smart-assed shows on television, and I think that's just why I love it.
Yeah. But the real potent quotable of the week, obviously, is the sort of second to last line of the entire series, which is, "We dug coal together."
There is one thing I wander back to.
We dug coal together.
That's right.
That's another callback to the beginning of the series, which is, when Raylan had the chance to put Boyd down the first time. That's the expression of their bond, is that we dug coal together.
Do you, the cynical part of me thinks that it's a little bit of acting on Raylan's part, that they have this bond together. Although the less cynical part of me wants to say, like, hey, these guys really are fond of each other. But like I said, the cynical part of me is thinking, like, well, he's coming to tell him this lie about how Ava's dead.
No, I think they have a genuine affection for each other. I think there's a difference between being like an enemy and being kind of like a nemesis in some ways. It's kind of like, there's that line that Boyd has right before that where he's kind of like, you may not have believed every word that spilled out of my mouth, but I hope you've enjoyed them. And I think that Raylan has absolutely enjoyed them. I mean, you have those sparring partners in life that you kind of love, like tweaking a little bit. And I think there is like that sort of weird like affection for him.
And part of me thinks that those were kind of empty threats too in the big showdown scene. That was just more trying to goad Raylan into killing him. And I don't, the whole Ava is dead thing maybe wasn't even necessary if we're to believe that Boyd is semi-reformed, which maybe he is.
Yeah, I don't think Boyd is semi-reformed at all. Actually, I think
you don't.
I don't think he is at all. I mean, I think he's the whole time he's been this like charismatic leader kind, and he's not purely evil, but he is a bad man, and he believed. Like I think that speech he gave to Shea Wiggum's character about being an outlaw, and he's kind of brushing off the idea that like that song will be sung after I'm dead and all that. But I think he actually enjoys that legend.
Well, there's that key line that we haven't really talked about yet where he asks Ava why. He just wants to know why.
Honestly, Boyd, I put myself in your shoes. I did what I thought you would do.
Did you think that actually hit him and humbled him? I felt like it was supposed to.
Yeah, you can definitely see that in Boyd's face, and that's kind of why I think he wants Raylan to put him down. Is because he just sort of feels that this one person he kind of loved in this world still thinks of him like that.
Are we going to do a little speculating on Speculation Corner? My big question is, would you want to see it? They've already sort of talked about very vaguely, like, if we found the right story, we might do whatever, a miniseries. In my mind, I don't want to see it. This was a nice, really, really well sort of tied up ending. And if I want to, write some fanfic about how Raylan goes and finds Ava and raises Boyd Jr., and then Boyd Jr. grows up to want to kill him or something, I'll do that myself. I don't need to see it.
You can put it next to my Tim fanfic where Tim does literally anything.
Yeah, really. Tim's just making some oatmeal, but he's so badass when he makes it.
Well, finally, he got something to do,
Yeah. But overall, great series. I really enjoyed it, and I'm glad you caught up so we could chat about it.
Yeah, well, we dug coal together.
It's true. We have kind of dug coal together, haven't we?
All right, well, thank you.
Hold on, I put my hand up on the glass.
Oh.